Thank you for joining us on Business Now. I am Frank Omalape. We'll begin from the Federal Capital Territory, where the government has blamed the state governors for the rising poverty levels across the country. Minister of State for Budget and National Planning Clement Agba apportioned the blame on Wednesday while briefing State House correspondents at the end of the weekly Federal Executive Council meeting. He also challenged state governors on the need to address the poverty among rural dwellers to make life more meaningful for them. Agba claimed that the governors have abandoned the critical demography, preferring to spend state resources on the capital cities instead. He said he lamented that despite the federal government's intervention to alleviate poverty, the results have not reflected the amount of investment made in the area. Away from there now, power generation, distribution and transmission companies, gas suppliers and consumers, among others, will conduct electricity transactions through an automated energy trading platform in 2023, the federal government has said. The government said the platform will facilitate an automated and transparent marketplace and will serve as a system for the consummation of bilateral contracts for energy using standard template contracts. Managing Director, Nigerian Bulk Electricity Trading PLC, Naimeka Ewelukwa, disclosed this in a presentation. Ewelukwa stated that the platform will also serve as a spot market for real-time energy trading as the market developed further. Ewelukwa said the interactive map will facilitate transaction structuring by willing buyers and sellers. It will also boost network investment coordination and guide investment decision-making while facilitating greater policy planning and efficient resource planning. He added, quote, with price discovery, energy buyers and sellers have the assurance that they are purchasing these commodities at fair prices in a reliable marketplace, end quote. And in the meantime, Nigeria's Bulk Electricity Trading PLC announced plans to boost its electricity supply capacity to 5,500 megawatts by 2023. This was disclosed by the Managing Director, Naimeka Ewelukwa, disclosing that NBET, the Minister of Finance, Budget and National Planning, Zainab Ahmed, has endorsed the plan. The NBET chief noted that the repositioning will make NBET become a market enabler, facilitate and boost market growth to a point of self-sustaining. Ewelukwa said that NBET will also establish a comprehensive data hub that will provide critical information on electricity and gas customers and their geographical locations in the country. He also noted that this will also promote bilateral trading between independent power plant IPP and commercial industrial customers through an automated energy trading platform exchange and form multiple energy brokers, playing a key role in linking energy suppliers and customers registered on the platform. And now the Nigerian government has announced the concession of a research and development of satellite internet broadband project, which will earn 28 billion naira over 15 years. This was disclosed by Manji Yalin, Acting Head Media and Publicity Infrastructure Concession Regulatory Commission in Abuja on Wednesday after the FEC approved the deal. The ICRC noted that the project is owned by the National Space Research and Development Agency, an agency under the Ministry of Science, Technology and Innovation under the supervision of the ICRC. They added that it will create over 10,000 direct and indirect jobs and generate over 28 billion naira within the 15-year concession period and help in the fight against insecurity, citing that will also mitigate the effect of climate change and aid in disaster relief and improve healthcare services. Meanwhile, the Central Bank of Nigeria injected about $11.24 billion into the economy to stabilize the value of the naira from January 2022 to July. This was obtained in the banking regulator's monthly economic report on foreign exchange market development. The report showed that $7.6 billion was used to stabilize the naira in the first 5 months of the year. In an earlier report, the CBN said it had intervened in the market with $1.65 billion, $1.39 billion and 1.28 or 1.82 billion in January, February, March, while the interventions were 1.56, 1.18 billion dollars in April and May, respectively. The CBN has been intervening in the foreign exchange market to stabilize the economy and respond to growing demand in the market. And now the Nigerian government has revealed the criteria for obtaining a loan from the Development Bank of Nigeria, DBN, which they say only companies with less than 250 employees are eligible for that. This was disclosed by DBN's Managing Director, Tony Okpanachi, in a meeting with the Senate and ad hoc committee investigating uneven disbursement of its loans. They also noted that the lending criteria are similar to those set by the Central Bank of Nigeria. Okpanachi told the Senate committee that only small and medium-scale enterprises, SMEs with less than 250 employees and revenue not above 1.1 billion naira are qualified to access its loans. He also said the DBN observed that there were issues with interest-based banking and loans in the north, citing that he has engaged 2 non-interest banks in Nigeria to cater to that region. The DBN board said the process is continuous to get more businesses on board and urged participating financial institutions to build the capacity of small-scale businesses and train them on how to structure their businesses to be able to access the loans. And now the House of Representatives has approved payment of various sums totaling about 308.5 billion naira to 194 companies who filed claims under the promissory notes program of the federal government. This is based on the recommendation of the House Committee on Commerce and on the approval of a promissory note program to settle outstanding claims in respect of the export expansion grant between 2007 and 2009, which the Chamber considered and adopted at the plenary on Wednesday. The Organized Private Sector Exporters Association had in June appealed to the National Assembly to urgently ratify the approval of the 375 billion naira by the federal government on the backlog of the export expansion grant for exporters. The Federal Executive Council had approved the disbursement of the money to exporters in the form of promissory notes, which will become effective after the ratification by the National Assembly. And our Senate President Ahmed Lawan on Wednesday assured manufacturers of non-alcoholic beverages in Nigeria that the National Assembly will address their concerns concerning the implementation of the Finance Act 2022. The Finance Act 2022, among other things, imposes a 10% tax on non-alcoholic beverages. Top officials of major players in the industry, drawn from 7-Up Bottling Company Limited, Lakasera Company, Right Foods Limited, and Nigerian Bottling Company, complained to the leadership of the Senate on Wednesday that the tax burden could lead to the collapse of the sector. Receiving the visitors in his office, the Senate President assured them that the Parliament will look into their complaints, particularly concerning the excise duty, according to his special advisor, Ola Awuni, in Abuja. The Finance Act imposes an excise tax on all non-alcoholic beverages. In our sector, it says the taxes we pay, company tax, VAT, education tax, are more than over 300 billion, he says. Nigeria's oil output is at its lowest since 1990 as its crude oil production fell below 1 million barrels per day in August 2022. This also as data from the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries, OPEC, show that Angola and Libya have overtaken Nigeria as Africa's highest crude oil producers. Speaking with IBrandTV on the development, analyst Sumbo Badijuko averred that the current figure being put out by NNPC should be scrutinized, adding that government must block leakages and implement the PIA to attract investors to the sector.
Yes, we do have the capacity to produce more than that. But if you look at the activities within the sector, there is no way that what is current, that the figure we are throwing out, the current output, should not be a surprise to us. Within the sector, we have what we call endemic corruption. We don't really know how much we earn from the oil sector or from the sale of crude. It is whatever the NNPC throws out, that is the figure that we believe the government will be the one to step up its game There are so many things that the government needs to do for us to really solve this problem. Now, we're talking about our production output. Now, security needs to be addressed. We need to block the leakages within that sector, because there's no way that the oil theft activity is known to security agents, and they are not doing much about it. So the government will need to put the right peg in the right hole within that sector and ensure that it's proper monitoring. Then the PIA, that is the petroleum industry, has to be fully implemented so that more private sector will be encouraged to come into that. Then the government, of course, need to really hands off in the area of exploration and just focus on the royalty, because there's no way when NNPC, now that is a private company, even though government still controls all the share, by the time the share value of the NNPC goes public and investors are coming in, the place will be, the company will be properly managed, and that is when we'll now be comparing NNPC with the likes of Aramco of Saudi Arabia. Until we get to this, and the last thing would be that the government needs to really, encourage as much as possible human capacity development within the oil sector, so that they will have qualified professionals who are skilled in the current trend of the global dynamics within the oil sector.
If you just join us, this is Business Now, coming to you live from our studios here in Lagos. Still to come, UK house prices see biggest fall for 2 years in November. We'll bring you details and more news update after this commercial break. Please stay with us.